Welcome to the Back to Life podcast, where we explore living well, loving well, and being well. I'm your host, Nicole, and I invite you to tune in for inspirational conversations to get you back to life. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Back to Life podcast, where we explore living well, loving well, and being well. I'm your host, Nicole, and I am thrilled to have you with us today. I am joined by the fabulous Angela Barella, owner of Blue Phoenix Therapy. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Nicole.
You came back.
I did. I had to come back for this one.
Yeah. Don't you? Oh my gosh, control. Yes, this is one for the books for sure.
Yeah, it's a fun topic.
Yeah. So in this episode of our series, we are going to be looking at, hi, my name is Control, and we're going to explore 3 different focuses. A mind at freeze, where we understand our need for control, sending out an S.O.S, of course, the link to anxiety and depression. And finally, the puck drops here, techniques to relinquish unhealthy control. Gotta love Inside Out for giving the inspiration for these,
Yes.
right? These focus, right?
I love these.
Yes. So what do you think? What do you think about control, Angela?
Well, control often stems from a desire to manage like uncertainty and reduce anxiety. That I think is the main background of it, right? To reduce that anxiety.
Yeah.
And it definitely manifests differently depending on the type of anxiety you have, right? So
for sure.
if you're having social anxiety, right, you're going to try to control and feel the need to plan every single little detail out when you're
plan your escape.
Yes, right. Where the door's at? Like, what am I going to do?
Yes, I got to get out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if you have general anxiety, that typically anticipating these triggers.
Yes.
So you want that control, you need it.
It's the what ifs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients, if your question starts with a what if, that's your anxiety speaking.
Yes. Yes.
So if we look at Inside Out too,
yeah.
We tend to see a lot of emotional complexities, showing up, including the urge to control situations. This need for control is manifesting itself in different ways, micromanaging every little task, and when you do that, it's very rigid. Your routine.
Yeah. And it doesn't, and if we think about it from the movie aspect, it doesn't make room for the other emotions.
Exactly. Which is what you've seen play out.
Yeah, it sure doesn't. It's kind of like, I got this, I got this, I got this, you know what I mean? But together they all play a role in who you are, So when life feels unpredictable, controlling what we can might seem like the best strategy to keep our anxiety at bay.
Yeah.
But however, this need can sometimes lead to feeling, just a big sense of overwhelm. And it also strains our relationships when we try to control other people. Because when it starts to, it's one thing to try to control outcomes and stuff. But then that also can flow into trying to control other people. But we cannot control other people.
Exactly.
You can only control what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and it's important to recognize that need for control is rooted in fear and anxiety, and not everyday anxiety.
No,
like an actual
special anxiety.
Yes. Because every day, most people have some kind of anxiety.
Yeah.
So this is the extreme anxiety, right? As you've, talked about in the other part of the series, the anxiety that's running in circles, freaking out.
Yeah. And it's like, I got to do this. Yeah.
So understanding this will help us address the underlying emotions rather than just the behaviors.
Oh, yeah.
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 Because I think a lot of times people want to just get rid of the behavior, but why are we behaving this way? What is that's causing that?
See, that's behavior modification, and that's not a long-term solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this is going to bring us to our next point, sending out an S.O.S.
The white flag is up.
Yes.
Help me.
So the link, what is that link between control, anxiety, and depression?
Well, okay. So in the movie, of course, we see how a desire to control everything can amplify anxiety. Boy, did it.
Yes, it did.
And lead to feelings of hopelessness when things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
Because that's not a long-term solution either, you
Yeah.
know. The constant struggle can create a cycle where anxiety feeds the need for control, which in turn increases anxiety, and on and on and on. But the thing about it is, it's kind of like when we start to feel like we can manufacture outcomes for certain things, we start, it's like we're trying to be the puppet master.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's kind of like that doesn't flow, and actually that is a hard job for anyone.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It is.
It's like we're not playing Sims here. Okay.
Yep.
You can't control who does what and where, and everything. It's like looking at the situation, seeing and looking at what is it that I can control, and what you can control is what you do, what you say, how you show up.
Exactly.
And notice, what is it? You.
Yes.
Not the situation. So there are a lot of things that may feel out of our control, but there are a lot of things that actually are in our control.
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're going about it in that way, when you're trying to control every situation, when you're trying to control people, when you're trying to control all these things so that you don't have anxiety,
yeah,
it
just makes you have more.
It makes you have more, and it can also lead to depression.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
No.
And it's really hard because when you can't control everything, we can feel like a failure.
Yeah.
It can diminish our self-worth. It can increase feelings of sadness. We can feel helpless, hopeless,
yes.
All these things. So it's really crucial to kind of break that cycle and get out of that, and kind of address why we feel that need to control, like why we have that underlying need of anxiety and depression.
Well, think about it. It's kind of like, excuse me, like you were saying earlier, kind of like how it can lead to depression and stuff. After a while, it's almost like you're hitting your head up against a brick wall repeatedly, and then you're wondering why you can't move forward.
Exactly.
And and it's kind of like trying to control a person, or trying to manufacture an outcome that you want so bad. That's just too much mental work. It's like, where are your thoughts going?
Yeah.
Like, it goes back to, I have to.
Yes.
I must.
Yep.
All of those things. And it's kind of like when you have a cycle of I should, I have to, I must. Those are things, like you were saying, those are like little red flags that are kind of like, hold on, think about your thinking.
Exactly.
What's really going on? That's when it's like, okay, we need to stabilize some things, because that's not the way to go.
No, it's definitely not. And it's very unhealthy.
It really is. It really is. So now we can move on to our final point about the puck drops here. Techniques to relinquish that unhealthy control. So if you remember from the movie that, Riley's playing hockey.
Yes.
And, after a while she was like, they're like, hey, pass it to me.
Yes.
And she was like, nah, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I'm going to make the goal. I'm going to look good. I'm doing this. That's not good. You know what I mean? And all that does is just, you can just see, and that's when anxiety started revving up and everything just went completely out of control. And she had to go sit in the box? I don't know. I don't play hockey, but you know what I mean? She had a penalty box for a minute. And that's when everything kind of like, all the stuff just kind of came crashing down on her.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
We are not built to sustain that.
No.
And it
gave me anxiety watching it.
It did.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, and you can't do that forever. There's going to be a breaking point eventually.
Yeah.
And learning how to prevent that is really important.
It's hard to navigate these emotions sometimes, because either how we grew up learning how to deal with them from our families or whatever, or just, the how our mind thinks about a certain situation or a certain person. And it's kind of like the intent may be benign, but the impact is huge. And the ripple effect of some of these things can be overwhelming.
Yep.
To the point where you're overwhelmed, the people around you are overwhelmed. It's just a mess.
Exactly.
It's hurricane. That's what comes to mind. It's a hurricane.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we don't realize that a lot of these things are supposed to be taught to us.
Yeah, but sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not. And it can definitely lead to, control.
Yeah.
There's a health, like everything else we've talked about, there's a healthy control and there's unhealthy.
For sure.
And when it crosses that line to unhealthy, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to navigate that. It's hard to understand why we're behaving this way. And it can really ruin not only ourselves, but relationships with other people.
Man.
It can cause some damage.
It does. And that's where I was talking about the ripple effect, So let's talk about some coping.
All right.
Okay.
Well, my number one go-to is always mindfulness. Oh. Yes. Being able to stay present and focused on the here and now can really help reduce the impulse and the need to control future outcomes.
Yeah.
And again, not gonna lie to anybody.
Yeah.
Being mindful is hard.
Yeah.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
Because, when we have anxiety, we want to control things.
Yeah. Nobody's thinking about, oh, what am I thinking
exactly.
right now?
Why am I freaking out?
Why am I freaking out? Does that have to relate to when I was 3?
Exactly.
No. Nobody's thinking about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, being able to take a step back, take a couple deep breaths, engage in some grounding exercises. These are things that help.
Yeah.
But they're also very hard. And learning how to stop yourself and take that step back takes practice.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it right the first time in the first go around.
And self-compassion here.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
Yes. Well, another technique is to challenge our need for control by gradually letting go.
Ooh.
I know I said the bad word surrender, didn't I? Oh my goodness. And we start with small steps, like, it could be anything like delegating a task at work or allowing someone else to make a decision in a group setting.
Yep.
Which for some people is like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, it's hard to ask people for help.
It's hard to let go.
It is.
It is hard to let go. But we start, like I said, I give to my clients, I always have them make a fist.
Yep.
And I said, letting go, is a process. And we can start by pinkies up. Like you make the fist and then you put your pinky up.
Yep.
Just letting go that little bit can give you like some air.
Yes.
And then you're like, I'm breathing a little bit better. And it helps you to kind of lift up the next one.
Yes.
And then the next one, and then the next one. And then finally that thumb is let going and you palms out. You know what I mean? And then think about it. When your palms are out, you're ready to receive.
Yes.
You're letting go, but you're also ready to receive. That. So that could be hopefully helpful for someone because over time, these small steps can build trust and reduce that need for control.
Yep.
Because you start to feel safer.
And I think that's like the key words, over time.
Over time.
It's not going to happen overnight.
Please.
Yes.
No, as much. I don't know. I don't have that magic wand. Do you?
No.
Okay.
No. Life would be so much easier if we didn't.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But, it's also helpful to, again, reframe our thinking. And I think this has been a common theme through all of this series, right? Reframing our thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing in all of therapy.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing control as a way to prevent bad things from happening, view it as an opportunity, I guess, to like build resilience and being able to be adaptable to situations.
Oh, for sure.
Life is so unpredictable and, learning to go with the flow, it can be very empowering.
It can. But I know that statement just stressed somebody out.
It stressed me out.
What you mean go with the flow? Absolutely not.
Being able to sit back and just chill and breathe and be like, you know what? That's a problem for another day.
Yes. It's above me now.
That's what we strive for, right? But it's hard.
It is hard, And of course, seeking support through therapy can definitely provide valuable tools and strategies to manage that anxiety and the need for control.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. That could be your very first step to letting go.
Yeah.
Is I can't do this myself. And of course, you and I as therapists can attest that therapy can be very important to help explore the root causes and help you develop, those coping mechanisms.
Yes.
For control, for perfectionism, for anger, and for procrastination.
Yes. And, and asking for help is not easy. I've gone to therapy. I still go to therapy.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I sat there and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to help. As a therapist.
I know therapists need therapy too.
Exactly. But it is hard to ask for help. And it may not be ready today, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Vulnerability.
Yes.
Special word. Another special word. Right?
Exactly. All right. So let's look at reflecting back.
Okay. My favorite time.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. So I want everybody to kind of think of a situation where you felt the need to control everything.
Oh my gosh.
Not just control some, like everything.
Everything. Yeah.
What emotions were driving that need? How can you start to let go? Trust the process, trust yourself, I think is what's important too, is learning to trust yourself. Even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah. And it's kind of, and that is a great reflection because it helps you to kind of look at where you are, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're trying to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's good. So we got to find that balance and trusting that we can handle whatever comes our way.
Yes.
Easier said than done. So we acknowledge that, so we're not dismissing anyone, but the sooner we are able to let go, the sooner we are able to kind of walk forward and walk through through the things and get on the other side. Yeah. Which that's where we're trying to go. And that's the field of dreams that we see.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely. So thank you so much again.
Of course.
Angela, for joining me today and talking about this very important subject. I hope that this has been really helpful, for our audience. And I hope that they will join us next time when we continue the series. Are you ready for this? We're going to look at disappointment.
Oh.
Yes. I know, a disappointment. It even sounds sad.
Yeah, it does. It's just sad.
It's just like sad, but I think it's going to be a really great conversation, and it wraps up our Hi, My Name Is series, as we have been looking at the emotional impact of our behaviors and thoughts. So remember, living well, loving well, and being well starts with understanding ourselves better. And hopefully this podcast has been able to help you do just that. Take care, and we will see you next time as we talk about disappointment. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories about this series that we're talking about. You can follow us online at our website, on socials, and information about that is in the show notes. Be well.